Hello, Siri. How are you?
Hi, Jessica. It's so good to see you in person.
Yes, well, on the internet anyway.
I'm the internet person.
Yes. Yes, it's good to see you too. And are you in your fabulous chateau that I always see pictures of?
Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit more on the shabby side than
Yeah.
the elegant side at the moment, but yeah, I am. It's a 1906 house. It's a lot of work, but it's been a lot of fun bringing it to life.
That's amazing. So the house I live in was built in 1905.
Mm,
Yeah.
lovely. Does it have a lot of like craftsman details and things in it?
Well, not really, because when I bought it, I mean, there were cats living in it. Nobody had lived in it in 10 years, and like everything was like falling apart. So I was able to like find some cool wallpaper and stuff, but it basically needed a total rehab. But there are some cool architectural details throughout the house, and especially on the outside.
That's
Um,
great. And you can always bring stuff back in. Like that's definitely what I did, like salvage things and kind of
yes.
back details because most people these days just don't appreciate architectural details or especially
Mm,
where I live in New York, like they'll just go into an old beautiful house and just tear everything out and just
yes.
ruin it.
I know. It's true. So you can definitely, yeah, rebuild stuff. And I love how you've done that with your home. I think you call it a name, something shabby or
Yeah, Westminster shabby. Yeah.
yes, I love it. That's so great.
Westminster's because, you think it's grand and shabby because, you look too closely.
Yeah,
You don't know
I
what
get
you're going to find.
I gotcha. Wonderful. Well, I'm so happy to talk to you today, Siri, about the Muses and the Muses Escape. And so I came in contact with the Muses because well, actually, I learned about you guys before you started the Muses,
Mm.
because um, I took a class with Brad Kunkel, and
Oh,
I know that he's used several of you guys as models.
mhm.
So I started following you guys, and I was just like entranced by the whole aesthetic that you already had going on. And I love his work so much. But but then I saw that you started this thing that was like anybody could just join in, and I was like, this is amazing. And that was during 2020, where everyone was on lockdown, and it was so wonderful to have like a creative community of women to create with and to share with and to come together with, like during that series of creative projects that you did. And so that was really, really powerful. I loved that. And I haven't been to one of your in-person events yet, but that's definitely on my list. They look so amazing. And before we get into it, I just wanted to real quick read something that somebody said, because people may not know what the Muses is. And I loved this quote on your website by Kendra from Tennessee. And she said, resolute in finding secluded and unique locales, the Muses provide immersion into a world of the past, into a time of beauty enhanced by texture, handwritten letters, luxurious gowns, and photos filled with mystique. The lectures and workshops probe the depths of human psyche to reach true potential, sometimes at the stroke of midnight. If you are yearning and searching for something akin to magic, the Muses Escapes will not fail your desires.
Mm. I have to say, the woman that wrote that, Kendra, she is just a magical, incredible woman. She works for the Park Service. She's a historian in Tennessee, and I love her. Really grown to love her even more. So she attended the workshop we did, Muses in the Highlands, in March 2020.
Oh,
So it was
oh
the
my gosh.
I know. It was the first week of March, and we
Mhm.
had this magnificent medieval castle in the 17th century manor house, and there were 18 of us. And we had this wonderful private chef named Alice who cooked us these like beautiful meals, and like her mother came and helped out. It was just such a warm, inviting situation. But we also had no Wi-Fi or phone service. So we were completely clueless that the world was crumbling around us, basically
No way.
fully until I think it was like March 11th. And I drove the girls into the town. It was like 45 minutes away. It's like literally the middle of nowhere. And all of a sudden I have like hundreds of messages on my phone, like, you guys got to come back. You got to come back. And I'm like, what? We're just here to pick up whiskey. Like, what's going on? But there was something about that last dinner together, just sitting around this beautiful table in this formal dining room, and we had all made flower crowns earlier in the day. Another one of the attendees, Justine, did a flower crown class for us, just like on a whim. And we all read anonymous love letters to each other. So we give somebody a name, and then you'd have to write something specific about that person that you've learned over the course of the week that you admire, but you don't sign it. So all of us are opening these letters, not knowing who around this table has written this about. It was so authentically emotional and meaningful, especially at that point when we knew the world was kind of falling apart. So all of us who were at that retreat, I think we even got particularly close.
Yeah, I could imagine.
And then when we came back, it was so kind of depressing and sad. That's when we decided to do Muses from Afar and do the workshops that you joined in, and get other women to teach and stuff. And that was kind of the impetus for that.
Yeah. And I'm so grateful for that. And the pictures from that particular Scottish Highlands experience are just so magical. They look like they're from like Brigadoon or something. Did you ever watch that movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, it just like looks like totally otherworldly. It's really amazing. And I know you guys are planning some other things like your May Day.
So we have we did another event in October because we love doing more kind of accessible. More people can come because clearly the retreats are limited in the amount of people, and we still want to build the community. So we do these other events. So the May Day event is going to be really fun, and we have the textile historian from the Metropolitan Museum of Art, Elena Kanaji Wu, is going to be doing a lecture on lace, which is amazing. That's her specialty. And then we're going to do a fashion show, and there are these amazing classical violinist women who are going to be performing, and then some kind of just silly games and stuff, just so we can all have fun and enjoy each other's company and that kind of thing. But we all are actually now going back to the Highlands next March to the same location, which is really, really exciting for me. I'm dying to go back there, honestly.
It looks totally magical. And the May Day thing sounds really fun too. I'm having an open studio that day, which is why I hesitated in signing up, but I'll watch it from afar.
You'll come to the next one.
I'll come to the next one. Yeah. So that's cool. So what inspired you to kind of start the Muses in the beginning? And where are you guys based out of? So for people who have no idea.
So I'm based out of Brooklyn, and Eden is based between upstate New York and Texas. But generally we would say that we're based out of New York. Okay. So the Muses started because so my big role in the Muses, I would say, is that I have like a really bizarre knack for finding these magical places on the weirdest, most random late night web searches, like 3 a.m. like depressed. I'm just scrolling and I'm like, oh, this castle looks great. Like I can just find them. And so I didn't know I had that gift initially, but it was, I think, March 2018 or no, January 2018. And I was just like, it was so cold. It was a horrible winter. And I found this amazing palace in Italy. I was like, girls, like just some girlfriends of mine who were like all amazing. I'm like, do you guys just want to go? Like, should we just go? And they're like, yeah. So we booked it for March. Again, like the cold, windy, rainy part, I think, is a big part of, I mean, we love the sun too. Don't get us wrong. Like summer vacations, but there's something about how the world is just for you. When it's rainy. You know what I mean? Because
I know exactly what you mean. It's very romantic, actually.
Yes, exactly. So we all go to this place in Italy. There was, I think, 7 of us, and actually one of our instructors for our next workshop, Lynn Paramore, who's a cultural historian, she joined us on that trip. And then we were like, wow, like we have all these amazing women in the room, all these like amazing professors and educators who are friends of ours. Why don't we do this on a bigger scale? Why don't we do this where we can invite other people to come in and bring in more voices and more people and like build community? Like that's what we all love.
Yeah.
We all love each other. We love women. So like, why not just take it from there. So we did that, and we did a few more kind of smaller trips, and then we did Muses in Umbria at that same the same place that we went before, and in the Highlands, and yeah, and it just kind of took off from there.
Yeah, that's so amazing. And I particularly love how you guys are so like historically inspired. And I think that's really different because there's a zillion women's groups out there who do events, but I feel that you guys have something really special and really unique because you really delve into history and like mythology and just kind of like the magic of things that make life interesting. And yeah, I just really appreciate that about you guys. And
I'm gonna answer your question. I'm just gonna quickly close the door really fast because my
oh,
cats.
sure. I love all your antiques there too.
Sorry about that. I've got
That's okay.
4 rambunctious cats.
Okay. I grew up with cats, so I understand. I love cats. They're my favorite pets.
Oh, they're wonderful, but they're so difficult. Yeah. So yeah, history is very, very important. So I personally come from my mother is an antique dealer and an antique collector. So I grew up with history and the importance of historical buildings and things. So the properties we choose, for instance, we want to make sure that every element of them represents and respects the history in both like the furnishing, the walls, and that any of the rental fees go to the upkeep of the building.
Mm-hmm.
That's really important to us. Oh, sorry, I was running the cat.
It's okay. It's all right. Save the cats. It's fine.
Yeah. But also just incorporating history into what we do. You know, Eden is an amazing world builder and set creator, and she always takes really interesting, unexpected historical references into her work and stuff like that. Yeah, it is definitely a big part of what we do. And I think authenticity mixed with a sense of play is a way of putting it, I guess, because we don't take ourselves seriously, but we definitely take the art and the creativity seriously, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And I love how you incorporate all different kinds of artistry, like video, painting, photography. You guys seem like you're all amazing photographers and you all photograph each other. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. And we're all visual artists, but I also like to encourage people who aren't necessarily visual artists or aren't necessarily people who are comfortable in front of the camera to kind of play with that concept, and also especially like in the photography classes that I teach, for people to kind of reconsider the way you consider yourself in front of the camera, because with social media and the way that we're told to present ourselves, I think a lot can get lost in translation, and a lot of the sensitivity and a lot of the actual true beauty of a person can get kind of concealed, if that makes sense.
Oh, it totally makes sense. It's like, yeah, a lot of the things that I see that are like heavily edited, they feel really boring to me actually, because you don't actually have that sense of like life to them. I actually prefer photos that are like a little bit grainy, or like you can't exactly see what's going on, or there's no retouching to make someone look perfect, and you get that feeling of authenticity that's like so much more interesting to me.
Yeah, totally. And there's more of a sense of mystery and a sense of like actually communicating, I think, as opposed to just like, here's a visual image, here's a character in the story doing something. Like, what are you feeling? What do you want the audience to feel? How do you want the audience to connect to that? And I think in a way, we're very cyclical in that, where it's not just the photography, it's also the experiences that we create. Everything needs to kind of come together with all of these different factors together. Like, you could get a beautiful building and people in pretty dresses and running around, but if you don't have the soul connection to what you're doing and what you're experiencing, it could just be a networking event, which
No,
is
it's so
not.
True. Yes, it's so true. It's so funny because so I have been I have been loving life lately because like all the restrictions have ended here in Philadelphia. And so I went to like 5 events this week.
Oh
And
my
it's
God, I
been,
love it.
it's been amazing. So I went to an ecstatic dance event. I don't know, have you heard of that?
No.
No, oh, you might want to check it out. There's definitely them in New York, but it's basically like you go there and there's like it's like upbeat trance with like some other musicians and stuff, but there's like 200 people and they're all just dancing and
Mhm.
whatever way you feel is right, and you're not supposed to really touch each other, so it's like a very safe feeling space,
Hmm.
like a lot of self-expression and like freedom and joy. And it was so wonderful to just be in like a group of people like that, just like celebrating life.
I
um
love.
and then I go to a networking event the next day, just because I go to networking events just like for my art and stuff.
Sure.
And
Yeah, yeah, no, they're very valuable. I'm not in any way like saying that there isn't a place
oh,
for
they
them.
are, they are.
Yeah.
But it was just like such a difference because like everyone's like in suits and like shaking each other's hands. And I was just like, wow, that was like, it was like whiplash. But
Yeah.
yeah, but the thing that I noticed was like at the dance event there was much more of like a soul connection with like all these people, like so you met them and you feel like you bonded and experienced something together.
Mhm.
Whereas like a regular networking event, it's like it's very different. And I feel like with yours you create an experience. It's almost like creating this bond of like everyone goes back in time and shares this like intimate, exciting moment together. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah. And I feel like your events also draw people that appreciate that kind of stuff, that want that.
totally. I think there's definitely a self-selecting factor in what we do. Because the irony is a lot of people slash most people find us through social media. But
Mhm.
then at the end of the day, at the actual events, it's fully cut off. Like you're very lucky to even get like a text message through in some of these locations. So the idea of pulling from this kind of larger universe, of disconnected, connected people, and then pulling some of them together into a room and finding those real connections, it does feel special in today,
Yeah, oh, definitely. So tell me about your work and like your personal work and what you do. And I'm
Yeah.
curious.
So I am an 8th generation photographer, actually. I have been photographing since I was a little girl. I exhibited my work when I was very young in different places around the world. And I kind of became disenchanted with it, just through the business, through the gallery world and all of that. And then when social media kind of really took off, because I didn't want to actually put my most personal work on that kind of disposable platform, if that makes sense for me
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah.
So I actually opened and ran a film production company for 15 years where I shot for huge companies like Viacom to, I worked with the Whitney Museum doing immersive theater. And so we ran the gamut of like huge clients to smaller, more intimate clients, large to small scale immersive events and production. So like production for me is second nature, which is
Wow.
why what I do for the Muses is like, I'm like, yeah, checklist spreadsheets, like that. The practical side is done. But as an
That's
artist now,
great.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, it was a lot of fun when I was doing it. I'm so glad I'm not in that world as much anymore. It was very stressful.
Yeah.
High stress, lots of people you don't necessarily want to always work for. But yeah, I'm a visual artist, so I still make films. I'm still a film director. I direct music videos, short films. I was actually, before the pandemic, going to direct my first feature film, which was really exciting.
Oh,
Yeah, actually about women's mental health about, ironically, at the end of the pandemic of 1918.
oh, wow.
I know.
I would totally watch that. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited to make it. And I will one day, but because of the pandemic, everything, of course, got
Yeah,
put on hold and actors got rebooked and stuff like that.
right.
But yeah, I just believe that as an artist, and I think you could probably relate to this, is that everything around you can become an expression of your art, whether it's your home or whether it's the way you make your cup of tea or the way that you want to sit down and paint. And I think not putting a lot of pressure, especially now, because it's such a hard time and it's such a confusing time as creative people. We can really, I know I can at least be very, very hard on myself about like, oh, I'm not creating, therefore I am not an artist, you know? And
Yeah,
just,
oh, totally. I totally
right?
get that. Yes.
You're
Well,
like,
it's like
ah.
I'm creating, but like it's not enough because like all these other people are creating more, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Or you go run through the gamut and you can be practical and realistic about it and be like, no, I know that's just this voice in my head, but it's still really, really hard on an emotional level if you're, you know, more of a creative or empathetic person. But I think that's been my biggest learning lesson.
Yeah.
It's been my
Yeah,
biggest lesson.
really to treat every piece, every project that you're working on is like really precious and special, and just to know that like you're enough. You know,
Exactly. Just be
yeah.
kind to yourself, and you don't even need like any kind of, you know, new agey thing around it. Just be kind to yourself and know that if you're not feeling creative right now, that's okay. You know,
Yeah.
we get a lot of messages from girls, and I think that's actually one of the most humbling things about the Muses is how open people just instinctually are with us, with their personal selves immediately without ever having a conversation with us. And so, you know, a lot of girls we've been getting messages from are like, I haven't made anything, I don't feel connected, I saw this experience, this looks like something that's going to bring something to my life and I want to be part of it. And that is like, that means a lot to me. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to all of us, you know.
Right. Oh my goodness. That's so valuable that you're creating those experiences. Um, I want to say we actually have a lot in common in background because I was an event planner for 2 years for a major department store.
Oh wow.
And Lord and Taylor, they closed after the pandemic. So
Yeah.
yeah, they closed in 2020, but I was their event planner for 2 years, and so like planned all these major things, and like so I'm also familiar with like building events and stuff. But it was fun, and it was like it was invaluable experience because now as I'm like curating art shows and stuff like that, like I'm so familiar with how to create something like that.
It takes
And
the stress off, right? If you
yeah.
have that skill set, then you can just, that's easy, that's taken care of because you have that knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah, like a lot of the things that I feel like other artists are like intimidated by, like, oh, you need to get insurance, you need to like make sure that people are booked for this, that, and the other thing. It's like, no, I've done all that. I understand.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really good. And I know that you work with Ellen von Ulwerth, right? Is that how to say her name?
Yeah, Ellen von Unwerth. Yeah,
Unworth. Unworth, yeah.
I've been modeling for her for, this is gonna age me, like the past 14 years I've modeled for her,
Wow.
and we've worked together on films and things like that. But
Wow. Yeah,
yeah,
she's a big deal.
I love her, and she's just become a super, super dear close friend of mine over the years. Amazing woman, just playful, kind, generous. But I met her and I didn't know anything. I didn't know who anybody was. Like I came from a very strange background of antique dealers, very cut off from the world, grew up very poor. And I got invited to Paris to a friend whose mother modeled for Guy Bourdin. There was an exhibit at the Bon Marché, which is this beautiful old department store. And I, at that point, thought that to dress up for an event, you wore a white Victorian dress because that's what my mother told me. I mean, I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
white Victorian dress now. Like I literally have been dressed in antique clothing since I was born. I must have been terrifying as a baby. What's a weird doll with big blue eyes.
Wow.
And so I wore this white dress and I'm like, wow, everyone's in black. And like I had my hair, and this woman comes up to me, she goes, hello, I want to take your photo. And I was like, okay, I don't know who this is. And it was Ellen. And we actually became friends first before we worked together, but we've done 3 books together and a bunch of films and magazines, all sorts of stuff. But yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Isn't that funny? Like when the stars align like that, that's great.
Yeah, kindred souls, really.
Yeah, and you're still wearing Victorian dresses to this day.
I am, and I still collect it. I have a very, very large archive of antique clothing and textiles.
So do I.
I bet you do.
Yes, it's like I feel like it's my guilty pleasure because when something big happens in my life, like I sell a big painting or like a really big win, my first thought is like, well, this deserves a new dress. I mean,
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. I totally agree. And that being said, I also think it is important for anybody listening who's like, ooh, like I don't have vintage clothing, or I don't have like, I don't wear fancy dresses and stuff like that. That even though like you see a lot of the pictures and we are all dressed up like at the Muses event, it's also super important to know like half of us just wear pajamas and like don't care. Like there is no dress code. Like you can wear whatever pleases you. And the idea is that there's like the space to dress extravagantly and wear a ball gown, or there's a space not to, and just like just chill. And I think that's important because we don't want to alienate people because we do our fancy dresses.
Right, exactly. Like, yeah, I understand that as well. But for people who like to dress up and who oftentimes feel out of place because there's no space in the world for them to like dress up like that, I think that's awesome.
Come to us.
Yes, I know, right? So, so tell me a little bit about your plans for the Muses, going on into the future. What do you envision the Muses kind of becoming?
So it's a very delicate balance, because we of course want to be able to grow and expand, but also retain that intimacy and the beauty that it's so hard won and so so precious to us. So we definitely want to start doing more retreats during the year, which of course has been hard because you can't plan anything really right now. But 2023, we're hoping to probably do 3 retreats, and we have 2 new locations that we're so excited about.
Oh, 3 retreats, that's a lot. That's
it
great.
is a lot. It's a lot. Normally we were hoping to do 2, but I think given the circumstances of nobody doing anything for a couple years, I think it's worth it to just like, let's go do it. But yeah, these new places are super special. There's one in France, and then the other one, top secret, is this in Ireland. Yes, I'm very excited about that.
I'll definitely have to keep my mind open. I've always wanted to go to Ireland. My grandmother's full Irish, and
wow.
Yeah, so I have a lineage there, but I've never been, and I don't know, it could be the perfect time.
Yes. Oh my God, you're gonna freak out when you see this place. It's just pure magic. And then on top of this, the retreats, like we of course want to do more accessible events, lecture series, life drawing classes, things where people can meet in an affordable, smaller scale way, as well as like the larger retreats. And then another dream is to do more online connections and online courses and stuff. So that's also in the works. So we're just trying to be, because we've had such an influx and growth and interest, we just are trying to take it one step at a time, be very cautious and conscientious that every step we're doing falls in alignment with our vision.
Right. It's so important, like begin as you would like to go on. Yeah, it's so good. So I also wanted to ask you, it is a big endeavor doing all of this. And I mean, how do you manage all of it? Because there's a lot of moving parts.
A lot of moving parts. Many spreadsheets.
Okay.
I am the Virgo spreadsheet queen. I think like we have a small team that works for us as well, who are amazing. We have Eden and I in the head, and then we've got a group of girls that are just like our solid rocks. They're just amazing. So I think now, after we have like several of these retreats under our belt, we can kind of foresee any issues before they arise, and just making sure everything is really planned out and clear in advance. So what you're getting into, that when you go to a retreat, that you will have this set schedule of what you do during the day, and you can choose to do all of it, or you can choose to do none of it. But that structure is there, so it's not like chaos driven. And then I also think that just really honestly the prep work and just the communication is the most important with something like this, and it is a lot of work, and it is a lot of moving parts, as you said, but I don't know, we really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's worth it, right? So what would you say to an artist who's out there who is really inspired by what you do, but maybe they like live in California or something, and they want to create something really magical? Like maybe they want to have an open studio and, have like create kind of like a similar ambiance and something very inspired. and very like aligned with their own aesthetic or whatever. What would
Yeah.
you say? What would you say to advise other creatives who want to create like an interesting event, as far as really creating an event that has an impact and that has like a energetic impact, right? I think your events have an energetic impact, like there's something special. So what would you say about creating a very special artistic event? Any advice you might have for?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that one thing that is majorly overlooked by people, which actually is one of the biggest impactful things that when you walk in is, of course, visual, but it's actually lighting.
Mm,
Most people tend to not understand that. And I think also coming from a film background, like cinematic lighting for me is very, very important at
yeah.
events. But you can do it on the cheap. You don't need money to do it. You have a clamp light in your studio that you normally have your bright light on your table, put a lower watt, $5 LED Edison bulb in it, kind of reflect it off of something, and that can give you a nice glow. And that is a huge, it sounds so simple, but that kind of warm, inviting lighting immediately puts people more at ease.
Oh, interesting.
And kind of creates more of a, I don't mean sensual in the sexual sense, but like a more of a softer emotional feeling in a room, as opposed to like if you want to party or something, like most people probably go with blue or something like that.
Right.
But
Right.
and then definitely like having different lighting sources creates different areas of a room. Like let's say you have one large studio space,
Hmm.
you want to have your artwork lit, right? But maybe dim the lights in another area. Maybe even just use tin foil to cut the light from hitting the corner. Set up a little folding table and chairs. Make nooks and areas, make it interesting, make the space so people want to explore it. Even if it's a wide open space, you can do it with very affordable, easy ways.
Mhm.
And then go to the thrift store, find some fun, weird things that speak to you, you know.
Yeah.
Props are everything. And you can, again, you can do the most amazing things with very, 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 very little money.
Mhm.
And just think out of the box. Think, what wouldn't you do? What would make this a little bit different? Like, not what you've seen before, if that makes sense.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. And I would add to that to kind of like pull from your circle, like what friends do you have that you know are talented, like, and who would like to join you in this,
Totally.
or that you could pay them or you could barter something. Um,
Exactly. Yeah.
like I've done that. I've done like photography services. I've bartered some of my art, like
Yeah.
or like maybe modeling, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, that, no, totally true. I think that bartering with artists is really, really important. We actually do that with a lot of our contributors. They're like, so Syrie, you'll shoot me for this and I'll come and I'll play the harp in your corner. And I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? So I
Yeah.
totally agree with that. I think that's really important, especially as female creators.
Mhm.
We can find it harder to get a lot of opportunities or ways to make
Mhm.
money. Being a female artist, as I'm sure you know, is has a lot of its own drawbacks.
Mhm.
And so yeah, just kind of finding a way to circumvent the system, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm all about it. Also, like in today's interesting climate, just like globally, I think I think using our skills and our non-monetary assets can be really great,
Yeah,
um, you
yeah,
know,
totally.
the land and all that. I have a little garden out back and it's really beautiful and I love to work in it in the spring. And I've just been thinking more and more about like these like tangible assets that we have, Um,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, and gardening is like, I mean, as I think you know, because I think you see my house account, but I love gardening as well. And
Mhm.
I love encouraging people who even just live in apartments, like get a grow light. You can grow flowers inside with a grow light. You don't have to just grow vegetables. You can grow beautiful things that you love, or you can grow vegetables and eat your own food and stuff like that. But having that connection, it's actually there's so many artists who were gardeners. There's a book that I think you'd really love, Emily Dickinson's Gardening, and it's all about her personal experience with gardening, and
Oh, wow.
really, really fascinating. But if you look through history, so many female artists, because I know you love the pre-Raphaelites, so many of them also were gardeners.
Mhm.
And the arts and crafts movement in England
Mhm.
I'm actually going with Eden to scout some new locations in the UK in April, but on our stop are
Ooh.
yeah, I'm very excited. But a couple of our stops are at these arts and crafts museums where the garden, the house, and the art inside are all symbiotic. So there's the pre-Raphaelite inside, the William Morris designed and so it's got this kind of flow to it. I'm very, very excited, looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, the Red House, right?
I'm not going to the Red House. I'd
Okay.
love to go to the Red House. It's I have to look it up. It's in Shropshire, this place. It's got more of like a Nouveau Tudor style to the front of it.
Okay. All right.
Well, I'll find it and send you the name of it.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, yeah, great. Well, thank you so much, Syrie. I really
Yeah,
appreciate talking to you. And I'm really sure that a lot of the artists who have been listening to this, so my audience right now is 89% female artists. So I'm sure everyone is interested in hearing all about the Muses, and I really appreciate those tips for creating an event too, because that's not something that I focused on a lot as far as the lighting, because the gallery events that I put on are typically like in like a white in a white like gallery style. But I am planning an event that may be in a French chateau based in Philadelphia area.
Wow.
During the summer. We're still working out the details, but if that works out, it would be a different ball game. So
Yeah, that sounds incredible.
yeah,
I'll have to come down for it.
yeah, oh my gosh, I would love that. Yeah, we're thinking about having like ballet dancers and like a sound bath healing and stuff.
I love that. Yeah, that's so much fun. Like doing events, like events, not retreats, but in spaces with many rooms is so cool, because every room can become its own environment, its own world. And of course, with amazing performers, you're just like gold.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I've always wanted to do something with horses. So I'm trying to think of like a way to incorporate that. I don't know how that would happen, but anything's possible, right?
Beautiful women on horseback, right?
Yes. Oh, I love it. All right. Well, where can people find the Muses? Tell everyone.
Yeah. So on Instagram, it's Muses Escape at Muses Escape. But our website is themuses.art. And if you'd like or even have an interest in attending one of our events, definitely sign up on the mailing list, because our events sell out within 24 and 48 hours. Like it goes really, really fast. And for the retreats, we have an application process. So if you want to know when things are being released, sign up. We send emails maybe once every couple of months. So don't worry about getting like a million emails in your mailbox. We only send emails when there's something really important to say. Yeah. So definitely sign up. Make sure you approve our email out of your spam and all of that, so that you don't miss out on anything. And yeah, feel free to drop us a line on the website too. There's like a comment section. There's a place where you can suggest a muse, like if you know an educator or a woman who's an incredible person who you think would be interesting to be a teacher or something. Like we love hearing from people. So yeah, just share.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Syrie. I so appreciate it. It was nice getting to know you a little bit better as well.
And looking forward to meeting you in person.
Yes, we will one of these days.
For sure.
And yeah, have a great rest of your day. And
you too.
Bye.
Bye.